Black's king on a8 is shielded by exactly one pawn, b7. White's heavy pieces are loaded on the queen side, all aimed at this open file. There's a forced mate in 5, but it costs both the queen and a knight to find it. White has both rooks on a1 and b1, the queen on e2, and a knight on c3. Every piece can join the queenside attack. The blockers are just the b7 pawn and the a4 pawn, and the b7 pawn matters most because it shields the king. The b7 pawn defends a6. If we capture on a6 with check, the b7 pawn is forced to recapture, and then the b-file is open. Look at the queen on e2. It can travel all the way to a6 along the rank in a single move. 3 sacrifices in sequence. The queen on a6 forces the b-pawn to move. The rook to b8 drags the king to a7. The knight on b5 forces the pawn to move, and when our pawn recaptures, the rook on a1 unleashes a discovered check. Every move is forcing. Black has no time to defend. Qxa6+. The queen sacrifices itself to capture the a6 pawn with check. The bishop on c8 doesn't defend a6, only the b7 pawn does, and recapturing with the pawn forces it to abandon its post. The king's shield is about to vanish. Black has no choice, the king is in check, and only the b7 pawn can capture. The b-file is now wide open, and the king has lost its shield. Rb8+. The rook crashes onto b8, attacking along the back rank. The king must move, and the only square available is a7. The bishop on f8 can't capture because the queen on e7 blocks its diagonal. The king walks to a7. It's the only legal square, and exactly where we want it. Nb5+. The knight checks the king from b5. Now the trick is set. If black captures with axb5, the pawn moves off the file. If black doesn't capture, white's next move axb5 still removes the pawn with check from the rook on a1. Either way, the file opens. Black takes the knight. Now the a6 pawn has moved to b5, and the entire file from a1 to a7 is empty. Axb5+. The pawn capture itself is small change. The real shot is the discovered check from the rook on a1, which now sees the king on a7 down the wide open file. Black is in check from a piece that hasn't moved in 12 moves. Black's only defense is to interpose the bishop on a6. The king can't move, every square is covered by the rooks. No other piece can reach the file in time. The bishop blocks, but only buys one tempo. Rxa6 is mate. The rook takes the bishop and now attacks the king on a7. The king can't move to a8, that's covered by the other rook on b8. Nothing else can capture or block. After 3 sacrifices, the king has run out of room. When the enemy king is shielded by a single pawn and your heavy pieces are stacked behind that file, count sacrifices to open the file. Material is paper. Checkmate is the only thing that matters. Every move in this combination was a check, which is what made the calculation tractable.